And this time we're going to be having Mr. Omoyele, and they will be speaking on leadership by design. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for always joining us. And it's a great day in Nigeria today, and it's a great privilege to also have Mr. Omoyele speak on this day. And the topic is leadership by design. So I'm going to send Mr. Omoyele the link right now, and then he's going to join us, and we're going to begin right from there. So thank you so much for joining us. Okay, let me send him the link. Okay. Good. Okay, so we're gonna waiting for Mr. Omoyele right now, and then we're gonna begin. So yeah. Okay. So I think we're waiting for Mr. Omoyele now. When we'll okay. Okay. Okay, so it's a great privilege. I'm just briefly going to talk about one of the visions for the section. I think Nigeria's at this point right now where it's having to choose a leader, and I think it's very necessary to have sections like this to help young people understand the true definition of leadership beyond politics and beyond diplomacy, and what true leadership really means. And that's the reason why we're having. Okay, we have Mr. Omoyele now, so I'm going to add him up right now, and then we'll go into begin. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, go. Yeah. So we have to slant it this way so it's easier for YouTube as well. So we're gonna go live on Mixer in a few minutes. When Mr. Omoyele joins us. Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, I think we have to turn it the other way so that it's.
Well, funny enough, it's straight for me, but
okay.
Maybe for you it's not. So I've turned it. Is that
okay?
Better
Yeah,
for you?
That's fine. Yeah, that's perfect. So let me say thank you so much, sir, for the privilege to have you here. It's a great privilege to have you speak on leadership. And I believe we have a lot of young people after now who will be watching this as well. And I think without wasting too much of the time, we're going to go straight to the point. We'll have Mr. Omoyele speak on leadership by design, and we're going to give room for just few questions, except for 1 or 2, and then we'll ask. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Omoyele, for the privilege.
Pleasure. All right. So you want me to kick off?
Yes, please. Yes,
all
please.
Right. Fantastic. All right. So good evening, everyone, and thank you, Miracle, for having me.
I can hear you so well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is better.
Is this better? Okay. All right. So please let me know at any time if you can't hear me well. All right. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing about leadership by design and provide a bit of context on what that means, and then share a few thoughts. So I'm sure people have heard a lot about what leadership means and what it entails. I like to say that leadership really entails 3 I's. One around inspiration, around influence, and around impact. So those are 3 key I's that, for me, leadership entails. Right. So someone has defined leadership as being the art of motivating a group of people to act towards a goal as a group, or the ability to guide others into a certain direction to achieve something. Okay. If I quote a past American president called John Quincy Adams, he said that if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more and become more, then you are a leader. Okay, so that's why I say leadership is about inspiring people, it's about influencing people, and also making impact. Now, John C. Maxwell, who is one of the leadership gurus globally, says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And I agree. Whatever organizations, whether it's countries, whether it's families, leadership does make a difference. And the first person a person should lead is actually self. So there is a concept of self-leadership. You can't lead others well if you cannot lead yourself well. So it requires self-discipline to be able to lead yourself before you also then attempt to lead others. Why have I talked about leadership being by design? So you have to be deliberate in leadership. You have to plan. You have to be intentional. You have to be conscious about it. It's not something that just happens. Yes, somebody may ask, is leadership ability inborn or is it learned? I would say it's a combination of both. Some people, yes, have what you might call natural leaders, but even those natural leaders have to deliberately plan their leadership in terms of growing. And leadership is not just about a position, right? No. So many people say, for example, someone is maybe the managing director of a country, or sorry, of a company, and that makes him a leader. Not necessarily. Remember, I've said leadership is about inspiration, influence, and impact. You can actually have a person who is not the managing director of a company that is more influential than the managing director, because the person inspires people, the person is able to influence people and actually create a greater impact. So that's why it has to be by design, it has to be deliberate. So how can you build leadership by design? I have three V's that I like to speak to. Vision, values, and verve. Vision, values, and verve. So I'll take through each of these V's. So vision basically is, as a leader, as a person that wants to grow in leadership, is to have a sense of what you want to achieve in the future. All right? It's about painting a picture of the future. So no matter how young you might be or starting off in either career, you need to have a vision, paint a picture of the future. How do you see yourself in 5, 10 years as a leader? Now that requires a self-assessment. Where are you today as a leader, as a person? Okay, a honest self-assessment. What I like to call the SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis is not only about business organizations. Even as a human being, as a leader, you want to be able to also do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths as a person or as a leader? What are your weaknesses or areas that you can do better in as a person and as a leader? What are the opportunities of growth that you see as a leader? And then also, what are the threats that can hinder you from becoming the type of leader that you desire, that you envision? So it's important to have that self-assessment done, okay? SWOT analysis. And as you understand yourself, having done the SWOT analysis, you then begin to say to yourself, what kind of leader do you want to be? Now, I'm not going to spend time talking about the different types of leaders or styles in terms of whether it's benevolent or autocratic or the likes. But each person needs to understand where their strengths are, where their opportunities to grow are. So what type of leader do you want to be? Remember, at the end of the day, it's about being inspirational, it's about being influential, and it's about being impactful. That's what it requires. And then once you identify the type of leader you want to be authentic. So there's a role about authenticity. You own it so that people will say, this is the type of leader that Miracle is, for example. So that area of envisioning the future, painting a picture of the future, requires assessment, self-assessment, and authenticity, being authentic. Okay. So once you've done that, it's important that you are true to yourself. It's great to have role models. It's great to have mentors. But the reality is that each of us, we are different. So I, for example, may have role model leaders that have gone ahead of me that I really like and I like to model. So I can borrow things from their style, but then I borrow the good things, the good things from them, and add to the good style that I have to create a unique Lampe leadership style, for example. Okay, so that speaks to the area of vision and painting a picture of the future that you can then build a roadmap to grow into. Now, the next V is values. And I would like to spend a bit of time in this case because it's at the heart for me of leadership by design. So you can actually have leaders, people that people admire as good leaders or strong leaders. But if they don't have values that people can feel inspired by, then there's a challenge. There can be a challenge. Because values are principles by which people live that guides their attitudes and their behavior, right? That's really important. And values are like compasses. They are what guides a person, what guides a leader. And this also speaks to the issues around character. Character is so critical in leadership. We have seen many examples of leaders who have failed because of character deficits. And this is where issues of self-leadership also comes to play. For everyone who wants to grow as a leader, and remember I said it's being by design deliberately, you need to understand where your character flaws might be. Back to the SWOT analysis. And once you've identified where your weaknesses are, you need to fix them. And it requires a lot of self-discipline. It requires also having accountability partners, people who can be honest with you to say, look, this is an area where you can do better, you can do differently. So for a person who is going to grow as a leader, it's really important that you watch out for your character. It starts from a mindset. It goes on to the kind of words that you speak and the kind of habits that you have. Somebody has said that we form habits, but then habits then ultimately form you. So what are those habits that you have that can hinder your growth as a leader? So it's important you establish and live to your core values and seek to live to those core values with integrity. Aristotle, the philosopher of old, said that we are what we repeatedly do. All right? So excellence is not just an act, but a habit. The same thing about leadership. If you're going to grow, leadership by design says you're conscious of the things you regularly do. And those things I regularly do are ultimately the ultimate test of leadership. So one of the things that I have also over time in my leadership journey is establish a set of core values that I strive to live to with the help of God's grace, and also having some accountability partners that can point out areas that I need to be deliberate about. So on times when I don't live up to those core values, I am reminded about them and I then course correct. That's why it's called by design, an intentionality to grow by also correcting some of the areas leaders, right? So for me, some of my core values are about faithfulness, about integrity, about respect, about the pursuit of excellence, and also simplicity. Okay, so those are some of the core values that I strive to live at, and they guide me in terms of my leadership journey. So I've spoken about vision, having a vision as a leader. I've spoken about values. The third V is what I call verve. As a leader, you clearly want to be enthusiastic. You need to have energy, right? As a leader, there will be all kinds of obstacles, right? But you want to ensure that you are enthusiastic and you're constantly seeking to grow it. So under verve, I have a few things that you need to look out for, right? But before I say that, again, to quoting someone, Ralph Waldo Emerson said that nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. So growing as a leader requires energy, requires enthusiasm. So on that verb, I have a number of words that I'll just share quickly. They all start with C, right? Again, just to try and remind myself. So on the verb, you have commitment. To be a good leader, you must be committed. All right? You must seize the moments, opportunities for growth, opportunities to exhibit the leadership, and just press forward. To be a good leader, you need to have competence. Depending on your area of expertise, be competent. So this speaks about being diligent. This speaks about having the spirit of excellence and driving for excellence in leadership. Then another C is conscientiousness. This again about growing, being the best that you can be, right? It also means being open to new learnings. It's about learning, it's about unlearning, it's about relearning. It's about how do you drop self-limiting habits and cultivate new ones, positive ones, and staying relevant. Right? So I've talked about commitment, I've talked about competence, I've talked about conscientiousness. And then there's courage. You cannot be a great leader if you don't have courage, because there will be obstacles. And that courage also means that you don't stay comfortable in a comfort zone. As a leader, you want to be able to challenge status quo. Right? And then another C word is company. Again, I've spoken to this as well. Do you have accountability partners, have role models, have mentors. Look at the relationships you keep. That can help you grow as a leader, right? Networking is important, right? Because you want to surround yourself with people who can challenge your leadership and also help you grow. So those are some of the key things under verve. And then as a leader, you also want to show care. Again, under C, care. And this talks about empathy. The best leaders have empathy for the people that they lead. So stepping into their shoes, knowing what they're concerned about. Again, another quote I like says, people don't care how much you know. So you might be very brilliant, but until they know how much you care, and that's how you get to be able to lead them, and that's why they would want to follow you, right? So lead from the heart. The head is important, but lead from the heart, lead also from the head. But you just can't be only leading from the head, lead from the heart. Show that you're a servant leader, caring for people. And it's not just a cliche saying servant leadership. Servant leadership just says that you care for people, you are empathetic. And a key requirement for good leaders is communication ability. So communication is important. How do you communicate? What do you communicate? The content of your communication, and also being open to feedback. Those are key things that a leader needs to be concerned about. So to summarize the things that I've shared, leadership by design is about inspiration, it's about influence, it's about impact. To be able to inspire, to be able to influence, to be able to be impactful, you need to clarify your vision, you need to have a set of core values, and you need to have verve, being enthusiastic, having energy. And that, to deliver that, you need to have a sound character, courage, commitment, communication skills, show empathy through care, keep the right company, be conscientious, and be competent. So those are some things that are required to lead by design. So I will pause at this moment, and I'll be happy to have a conversation and take any questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, and thanks so much for everyone who has joined. So I have some. So today's a great day in Nigeria, and it's an election day. So it's all of the youth voting, which I've also voted as well too. And the question I would like to ask is, talk about values. Are they? So it's confusing. It's going to be it's going to look confusing here because we have people who tend to see a certain value as good. There are certain people who also see a certain values as bad. So that's on loyalty. Now, loyalty. Some people think that being loyal to a person is way more important than being loyal to values. So when we have people who are following leaders that expect them to be loyal to them, and they will be loyal to them as well, than being loyal to values. Leaders like that be emulated when we have leaders who expect their disciple or their followers or the people they're leading to be loyal to them than values.
So first of all, if a leader or someone who's leading a set of people has values that are wrong, so let me keep it simple. A leader believes in stealing money, for example. That is not a value to honor or to follow. Therefore, I wouldn't follow such a leader. I would be loyal to a set of values that are positive and not harmful to other people or society at large, as opposed to being loyal to a leader. So if a leader is insisting on loyalty and yet doing the wrong things and has the wrong set of values, then it's not a leader worth following. In the same way, to stretch your question, if a person works in an organization where they're constantly compromising good values that impact society, then one should reconsider one's stay in such an organization. So I think that people should be loyal to solid values and not blindly to leaders, especially leaders that do not promote positive values.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. Okay, so I have some questions for some people who have been wanting to. They read your profile and they wanted to ask. It's more like a personal question. You've come this far. They read some of the awards you've earned. They've read some of the things you've gotten, and you're not more a youth. So
I don't know about that. But let's go on.
so they wanted to. So the young people are asking, how did you come this far? What were the things that you held in high esteem, irrespective of voices from society, voices from places that you had to compromise? If you had to compromise, how did this come this far?
Great question, and it's not necessarily an easy journey, but that's why it's so important that early on, as a younger person, note that I didn't say as a young person, it's as a younger person, I had very quickly a set of values that guided me very, very early. And so I spoke earlier about values. So I had a set of values that guided me. I also had tried to keep good company. the company you keep is very, very important, because, as the saying says, bad company corrupts good manners. So watch for the company you keep. That was very important for me. If I saw that I was getting to a relationship or to a friendship that was likely to derail me, then I found ways to step aside from such relationships. And then kept on ensuring that I had accountability partners that could guide me in terms of the values. So it's about having values, being self-disciplined, having the right type of people around you that just keeps your head screwed on. Now, it doesn't mean that one did not make mistakes, but the great thing is that once you have those values constantly in your mind, your mindset, you have kind of company that you should keep. When you make mistakes, you very quickly acknowledge those mistakes and course correct. The problem at times is that if a person makes a mistake and does not quickly correct, and then you keep making those mistakes, then you go further and further gone, right? So like I said, what I've tried to do over time is have values, keep the right company, and ultimately God's grace. So part of my values about faithfulness, and it's about faithfulness to God. So that's my personal belief. So those are some of the ways in which I've kind of kept on track.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So the other question is this. It's more like, from your view, Nigeria has experienced a whole lot of challenges, especially with leadership, and then a lot of people are looking up to Nigeria, especially from the African standpoint, to actually help change the narrative of leadership. And this is why we're doing this and trying to change the mindset young people have about leadership. Now, I think a lot of young people wanted to ask. A lot of young people have given up, and they're asking, is there hope for empathic and sympathetic leadership in Nigeria? Is there hope that we would really get to experience what true leadership really, not more like an half democratic and military form of leadership we've been experiencing so far? Is there really hope from your point of view?
I like to say, and first of all, let me acknowledge that yes, things have been difficult in terms of leadership in Nigeria and across the African continent. So, and that's that. And I mean, I've spent a few decades and yes, experienced all kinds of leadership. Nevertheless, I do believe that there is hope, and that things, there is some progress, even though slow progress. But there is progress. We hope that the progress can be accelerated, and that's why it's important that young people don't give up hope. I believe that leadership is at different levels and different spheres. We each have an opportunity to show leadership in our spheres of influence. I believe in the concept of oases in a desert. So how do we create oases, pockets of good leadership where we are? It could be in the family setting, it could be in a business setting, it could be in a certain microcosm of society setting. And I believe that once we have that leadership mindset at different levels, we can actually challenge the status quo of poor or bad leadership that we experience at various levels of leadership in our countries. And I think it's about getting involved in what is going on, especially in the political terrain. Getting involved, and that's part of what the excitement that's going on in Nigeria with today's elections, where young people have really gotten involved, signaling that they no longer accept the poor leadership, and be prepared to position themselves to show proper leadership. So the summary is that there is hope, and we should not give up.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Omoyele. Thank you so much. So, okay, so the last question, one after the last question is, how do young people protect and preserve the leadership that the majority supports, so that it doesn't overshadow, the bad form of leadership, which has been the shortcomings of our leaders, doesn't become a standard for us to emulate. But we have to look, how do we protect that as young people coming up, so that we don't get discouraged when we see this bad leadership having to look like, oh, there's nothing you can do about it. How do we protect the one we have and we believe that it's good?
I will say two things. So where you see a leader that is good, then support that leader and encourage that leader. I think that we should be careful about putting tar across every leader. And that's why I spoke earlier on about there are pockets of good leadership, the oasis in a desert principle. So preserve, protect, encourage such leaders. And as it is, follow them on the path that they are taking. So that's one part of the answer to the question. The second part is we who observe that there are some good leaders, or even observe that there are bad leaders, we should strive to be different in our own leadership. It's not enough to criticize poor leadership, and we ourselves are not showing a good example. So where we have influence in our immediate spheres of influence, let's show to be the kind of leaders that we believe we would like to see in society, which is back to the old saying by Gandhi that be the change you want to see. So be the kind of leader that you want to see.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Omoyele. Okay, so the last question before we let Mr. Omoyele leave is, in your experience so far in your journey of being a great leader in your sector, in your field, what advice would you want young people should know? What's that one thing that you wish you had known earlier in life, or probably what's one thing currently that you want young people should know about leadership, about life, about every field in life right now?
Well, I don't know about one thing. If you ask me for one thing.
Yes, just one thing, or probably it could be a couple of things.
So one thing is character. Watch your character, be careful about your character, nurture your character, take care of character deficits early enough, and with God's grace. Okay, so that's one thing, character. If I was going to say another thing, it would be diligence in everything that you do, and that is tied to excellence. So diligence and excellence for me are tied. So in whatever you do, whether it's in your career, business, whatever thing you do, be diligent and strive for excellence. Now, tied to those two things I've said around of character, of diligence and excellence, tied into that is being open to feedback, so that you can receive correction and course correct where required.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Omoyele. So, okay, I'm going to give an opportunity to someone, the audience, to ask one question, and then we'll let Mr. Omoyele go. We just want to make this very brief. So, if let's say in few seconds, we don't see anybody asking a question, we'll just let Mr. Omoyele leave. So, Mr. Omoyele, I want to say a big thank you for accepting my invitation. Thank you so much. It's a great privilege. Thank you so much. And then we're open one day. We're going to have a physical meeting. I want to invite you over. So.
Thank you. And I'm impressed about the planning process and the long timing that you gave for this to happen. So well done.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so I think we have no questions, so we're going to let Mr. Omoyele lead now. Thank you so much, Mr. Omoyele. It's a great privilege.
All right.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir.